Are live, not from New York. This is not Saturday Night Live. Ooh, 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 ooh. We're off to a great start. Rocking diet root beer. Bet for the stream today. No AirPods. AirPods not working. But wanted to make sure that we are live for Rush the Field, episode number 3, presented by yours truly. We got fun episode packed today. Fun episode packed. Don't let me cook. We are live, and this episode we're going to primarily focus a lot on draft news and some news around college football. Um, as much as I would love to do another food tier list, that might have to come up next episode when we talk about probably some fast food, or I just conjure up some other tier list. But we are going to be doing a mock draft primarily to talk about prospects and what are some of the things that teams can do. I don't know if I'm going to do a full first round just because it's going to take a while, knowing me wanting to talk about each and every little guy that's going to be uh, going into the NFL. And we got a couple months to do multiple ones of these. So strap in because this is not going to be the first time we do this. As well, we have Super Bowl this week. I know I broke down a little bit of the Super Bowl. Chiefs are my pick. I don't really want to re-explain it. I've made like 5 TikToks at this point in clips of me talking about this damn Super Bowl. I just want to enjoy it, kick back, and crack open a beer. I got a bunch of food that I got the wings, and we are already out of focus today. We're on a great start. There we go. Yeah, let's first talk about Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly, man. Going to the Ohio State Buckeyes, a Big Ten to Big Ten move. A lot of people don't really realize the magnitude of that, but UCLA is a Big Ten school, which is just so weird to think about. Don't even get me started on some Atlantic coastal conferences having the Pacific Ocean. I don't want to get into it because we will go down a rabbit hole that I don't think I'll return from. But yeah, let's talk about Chip Kelly, man. Isn't it kind of crazy that Chip Kelly, a guy that was seen like such an innovator in the early 2010s with Mariota and those Oregon Ducks, is he that innovative anymore? Or has everyone just kind of caught up to him? Let's not even get into that. Let's talk about, first of all, him leaving UCLA. UCLA being, quite frankly, a team that might be a bottom feeder in the Big Ten in the foreseeable future. We're talking about a program that was prepared to move off of Chip Kelly, decided not to in the last couple of weeks. There was rumors and rumblings that he was most likely going to be let go. I believe they won one of their few last games, and it was one of those situations where it was like, all right, prove yourself. Problem being Chip Kelly, and really it's a culmination of what's going on with college football. The fact that he's taking an offensive coordinator job, he does not want to he doesn't want to recruit. He doesn't want to deal with the transfer portal. He does not want a general manager role, which is what a head coach is at the college level at this point. He doesn't want to talk with donors. He doesn't want to have to fight for reasonings to be able to afford his players. He's just not that. That's not how he's wired. And you really can't blame these guys for being wired like that because, to be honest, I guarantee you a lot of the guys behind closed doors, coaches, assistant coaches from head down, they just want to coach. And the way that college football is, where they have to continuously recruit their own roster, they can't coach like they want to. It's not their passion to be on the ground, boots on the ground, talking to these high schoolers, talking to collegiate guys, telling them to transfer. They want to develop guys. And I hate to break it to you if you are unaware of this, they don't really get to do that during the season. It's just a continuous rotation of, is this guy that I spent all this time, energy, and resources on going to stay on my roster once the season's over? And I'm also going to have to develop him. I've already gone down a rabbit hole on this. College coaches aren't even really being able to coach like they used to. I mean, for example, Nick Saban, I'm sure it was a passion of his to be able to coach the defensive backs, and he retired for a multitude of reasons, but I'm sure it was a factor that the dude really wasn't able to coach like he used to. Like, I'm saying coaching from the aspect of developing the guys that he is bringing in. Not to say Chip Kelly's not going to be able to do that, or he's just going to coach and not have to worry about bringing in players as an offense coordinator, especially at Ohio State. But the responsibility is lifted slightly. You're not the face of the university, or I would say university, when we're talking about collegiate sports, just because of the weights that football pulls. And I think Chip Kelly was looking for a way out. I mean, I believe he was interviewing for the Seahawks job, or there was interest on the offensive coordinator side. Spot opens up when Bill O'Brien goes and takes the Boston College job, who he was originally the offensive coordinator for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Now it's Chip Kelly. So there's a lot of shifts. I think this is not going to be the last time. And I think as time passes, you're going to have more collegiate coaches that are guys that just don't want to continuously recruit and deal with the schedule. And there's plenty of guys that you don't even know about. You don't even know what their position is. They're not a director. They're just a part of the football program who want to get out of there, because we see how stressed out these head coaches are. God, imagine the guys that aren't getting paid the millions of dollars, not to mention, let's be honest, the guys that, you may disagree with me, but the head coaches are qualified for that contract. It's not like, oh my God, you get paid millions of dollars, womp womp, you have to continuously recruit. Yeah, they get paid millions of dollars because they're the only ones that are wired that way to go do so. But everyone has a breaking point, and I think the lines that college football is at is breaking more people, and the toxicity and it's almost like a sickness. Over as time passes, more and more people are getting sick of the schedule, and we will dive into that a little bit more later in the show, because that's the rabbit hole I really want to prioritize. Is college football is such a great sport. It is unlike any other sport in North America, or just really the United States. I'm not going to say North America, because hockey is another thing in college, or not college, in Canada, and then soccer in Mexico. So I don't want to say just North America, but I want to just point out that college football is king to me. I understand NFL numbers. Like, we could talk about the media thing. Yeah, the NFL is king by numbers, but to me, the ceiling and the peak, take peak Super Bowl or peak NFL, stand it up to some of the best college football games and environments. I know where I'm going, and we'll stop right there. I don't have a ton of thoughts on Chip Kelly. I think Ohio State's the same thing. Got to prove it. If you don't beat Sharon Moore in Michigan, it's not looking good. You have brought in too much talent. I wouldn't say Ryan Day should get fired, but the seat gets warm. And some may argue it's already warm, if not on fire. Let's move on. Let's talk about the NFL mock draft. I want to get into this a little bit early, primarily because the 2024 mock draft, or draft in general, is one of the most intriguing group of prospects because of how skill position, and offensive heavy it is. Not to say there's not talented guys at the defensive side of the ball, because there is. I feel like this is a really deep draft. And this is a draft for opportunistic teams to really make a change in their franchise, because of how needy some teams are at quarterback and how they'll reach for a couple of the quarterback prospects early. And when you have that, you have some all-pro guys that tend to slip. We haven't hit the combine. We haven't hit pro days. There's a lot of different touch points. We're still in February, a couple months out. But we did have the Senior Bowl. We have some guys we'll talk about. I didn't really dive too much into the Senior Bowl because I knew I was waiting for this. We got to talk quarterbacks. I got some takes on these quarterbacks that people aren't going to like, but here's the thing. I've had these takes for months. And when you love the draft like I do, you start scouting years in advance and just try to build up this opinion. And you also, I mean, I only have so many resources available. And I try to focus more on the film and how a player is successful versus talking about their personality, because objectively, unless you are out there partying and on TMZ every day, I don't know you. Like I know your social media presence. I could see how you act on the field, but I'm not in that locker room. I'm not in practice with you every day. I don't talk with you. I don't know if you're arrogant, too cocky, too humble, too shy to be a leader. So I don't really like talking about it. I mean, I'll factor it in if it's right in front of me, but like, sorry, I don't know these guys personally. So when we talk about guys like Caleb Williams, which we'll talk about, how am I supposed to just make the assumption the dude's a terrible person because he painted his nails with a saying F Utah and wanted to go hang out with his dog? I guess he's Ryan Leaf. I don't want to get too far into that vet, but I might. Let's talk about this draft. Let's talk about this draft. Let's have a good time. Let's talk about this mock draft. If I move this, let's get into this. There will be no trades in this mock draft, primarily because sorry, I got a ping. There will be no trades in this draft, primarily due to me not wanting to pay for PPF or whatever. Hello, there we go. I won't pay for this thing to give me trades that me. I will tell you if a team I think should trade up or down. I have no clue how to subject a team coming all the way up or down. This is the draft order, and we'll dive right into it. Number 1 pick, Caleb Williams to the Bears. I've said this for months. You reset the timeline of the quarterback contract. I'm gonna restart just because my eyes are just strained. Number 1 overall pick. You start with Caleb Williams. I've said this for months. You reset the quarterback timeline. This does not mean I have zero faith in Justin Fields. I think it is back-to-back seasons where Justin Fields has just had sparks towards the back half of the season and has built up this hope that maybe he could be that guy. My question is to Bears fans, do you really feel confident that Justin Fields could be a Super Bowl leading quarterback? If that is the case, then I would trade this pick. I don't think Justin Fields could do that in Chicago. Maybe in another city. But I just don't think, with how much he is not developed in his processing, and his windup is still slow, dude is still talented. But I look at the landscape of the NFL, and part of the issue I have is going down the list of quarterbacks, guys that have started at least going into 3 years, going into year 4, they've shown more substantial production and more than just sparks. And I think that Packers game at the end of the year just solidified I would move off of Justin Fields. I don't think you get a first-round pick. I think that is just a team trying to push Justin Fields' value a little bit up. I think you get a really good second-round pick, and that would be valuable. but you reset the timeline. I don't think this team is as close as people think to being in a playoff spot. They could be a surprise team. This team easily could turn around and be the Texans of next year with Caleb Williams. Does it fix all their problems? No, but does it give that organization a little bit more breathing room? Yes. And I would go with Caleb Williams. The dude's a generational talent. Stop overthinking how good Caleb Williams is. Does he hold the ball too long? Yes. Did he literally have to play Superman every single game? Yes. I would be so curious if you just plucked Caleb Williams out of there, what that USC team would look like. And the dude, I think it's just at this point, people are just tired of his name being brought up. They're nitpicking little things that they see on TV and saying he's a diva. He doesn't care. And people still believe that he wants part ownership into the Bears if they draft him. It's not going to happen. Shut up. Caleb Williams is 101, and the Bears should pick him, in my opinion. So we're just going to move off of that one because I could sit here and rant about Caleb, but I think I've made way too many videos about that. I will see a world where Cliff Kingsbury puts his foot down and tries to make a move for the Commanders. He has that connection to Caleb. But I think as time passes, don't overthink this, Washington. Don't give up too much because I think the Bears could be in a position where they start sprinkling in a little bit of that media of maybe we love Justin Fields. Maybe we will trade this pick and someone else will take the bite and overpay for it. Drake May would be the number one pick in a lot of drafts. The whole notion, by the way, that people think he's like Mitchell Trubisky because he is a North Carolina quarterback, shut up. Objectively shut up. I don't care if that's mean or off-putting. The dude's extremely talented, and he's the second best quarterback in this draft, and he would be the number one quarterback in previous drafts. Even last year, if he was able to go into the NFL, he would have been over Stroud, and he would have been over Bryce Young. And if people are like, oh my God, he would be over Stroud, you were just looking at the rookie season. We're talking about in the moment of the draft, Drake May would have been 101. He would have been like a Panther. And they probably would have still traded up to get a guy like Drake May. So don't overthink this, Washington. Does it fix your problems on the defense? God, no. God, no. Maybe Dan Quinn squeezes out some talent there, but very curious on what Washington's going to look like next year. But I do think they go with Drake May. This team. The Patriots are the reason why I wanted to make this mock draft. Because I think so many people are just slotting Jaden Daniels in here. And here's the thing. I think Jaden Daniels is the pick here. But my guess, if I was in the position of what the Patriots are doing, why are you not just sprinkling around the league and telling everyone that you're going to draft Marvin Harrison Jr.? Because if they draft Jaden Daniels, it does not fix any of their issues. They are still slow as hell at wide receiver. There are still issues within this team. And you're taking out Belichick, which no disrespect to Gerard Mayo. We just don't know what he is as a head coach. And maybe he's able to get this defense to be at least 75% of what Bill has been able to get. Obviously, you get Gonzalez coming back. But this team still has a lot of holes, and they could easily be in this position next year. Not saying they should not go quarterback, but they are in a position where they should wrap in as much talent as possible. And you look at the team below them at 4. The Cardinals are praying they just go with Jaden Daniels and move on with their day. But the Patriots, if you look down the list of who's following them, the next quarterback-hungry team would be the Falcons, potentially the Giants, if they really want to take a swing at a guy. But I think with the age of Jaden Daniels, I don't know if they would draft him. So it's really the Falcons who are sitting there going, we want a quarterback. All the other teams, The Titans would trade up to get Marvin Harrison Jr. The Giants would love Marv. I know the Chargers would, even the Cardinals. And I would be telling everyone we're going to go with Marvin Harrison Jr. or trade it to someone that will take it and force the Cardinals to be in a position who is so close to getting the best prospect in this draft. And all of a sudden, yes, it's one slot up, but you are getting more assets. If I'm the Patriots, that is the number one thing I'm doing. Try to get in that sweet spot of trading down where you could still get Jane Daniels, but you're also bringing in some more resources, because the Commanders can't do that because the Patriots would take Drake May in a heartbeat. Like, I sincerely think the Patriots need to really consider trying to gaslight the NFL into getting more resources, because they have so many more issues outside of just quarterback. But they should, I would say, still get a quarterback. Like, without a shadow of a doubt. Okay. We're going to take a breather because, by the way, diet root beer is king. I'll die on that hill. But yeah, Patriots still go get Jane Daniels. I think there's a world if they really wanted to get a little spicy, trade even farther down. Go get like JJ McCarthy. You don't got to start him right away. I don't know. People ain't gonna like that one. People not gonna like that one. Who says? I know the organization's done with Mac Jones, so they would probably say no. But who knows? Now, in the easiest mock draft in the world, I'm not trying to beat around the bush. Cardinals would sprint up and take Marv. I'm just saying, if you're the Patriots, try to get one of these teams right here that either are stuck with the quarterback, love their quarterback, or is too expensive to move off their quarterback to try to jump up here to take Marv, get some more assets, and Jane Daniels would still most likely fall to you. Chargers, in the easiest decision of my life, Brock Bowers is a Charger. I don't want them to overthink this. You just brought in Greg Roman. He loves his tight ends. Jim Harbaugh loves his tight ends. It's as simple as that. Do not let Brock Bowers fall outside the top 10 picks. I would be disgusted. Brock Bowers is, as advertised, one of the best players in this draft. If he's in the right position, if he is a Charger, we already know the Chargers are about to lose a lot of their weapons. Eckler's most likely gone. Mike Williams is most likely gone, even though Mike Williams never really played. You need to get a little bit of juice. And if you want to be a running team, you bring in Saquon, you bring in Brock Bowers, you got Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen hopefully stays healthy. Quinn Johnston all of a sudden might be a guy. We're cooking with grease here, and all of a sudden the Chargers are looking like a much more fun team. Defense on the other side might be an issue. They're going to move off of Khalil Mack, but we'll dive into the little offseason breakdowns once we get closer to the summertime. But right now, at 5, if you're the Chargers, unless you're thinking about trading back and getting a little bit more value, which they could, they really could. I just don't know which one of these teams right here would end up going for Brock Bowers, but it's just too good of a fit to go with him. Chargers, just be smart. Don't shoot yourself in the foot. And I think Harbaugh is going to make that decision. The Giants at 6. Man, oh man, oh man. I don't know what to do with this team. This offensive line is disgusting. But there's not tackles out their issue outside of Evan Neal, who needs to move to guard. I went to go see this Giants team in person for I believe it was a Monday Night Football game against Seattle. That was one of the worst performances from an offensive line that I have ever seen in my life. Now, Andrew Thomas was hurt. Evan Neal was blocking his own teammates. And I'm not kidding when I say that. I am not kidding when there was multiple times Evan Neal was blocking his own teammate in the back. but wide receiver is an issue. There's a lot of issues with this team. This team could crumble really fast, and I think it will crumble out of the hands of Brian Daboll. Is Brian Daboll the perfect head coach? No. Did they have a really good season 2 years ago? Yeah. But that's the issue. When you surpass expectations, you are expected to stay on this trajectory. And they had so many injuries and staffing issues. And then everything fell apart. Does Malik Neighbors fix any of their issues? I don't really think so. I think Malik Neighbors is really solid. Part of me thinks they would go Rome. I really think there's a world where they could go Rome Odunze. As time passes, I think the NFL is going to like Rome. I think as time passes, people are going to hate Olu. And then Fashano or Fuaga is going to be really popular. But just to be safe, I'm going to go wide receiver. I'm not going to feel great about it. I think Malik Neighbors is a safe pick for the Giants just because with how much movement Brian Daboll likes in his offense, he's going to like a guy like Malik Neighbors. I don't think Malik Neighbors is a plug and play on the outside. And he's just going to get open. I think he's someone that at LSU was always moving, and that's where he works best, is if you have him in motion, trying to get those linebackers moving, those corners moving, and get those mismatches. And that's where he excels because, honestly, if Daniel Jones throws a duck, there's a good chance Malik Neighbors probably catches it. The dude, I understand. I watched Theo Ash's video about the contested catching. I slightly disagree. Malik Neighbors' hands in contest, I think, is impressive. And I'm not as high on his route running. But that's the whole point of prospects. You have different opinions for a reason. Tennessee. I think right here, I can see a world where they go with a bunch of different guys. Right here, Rome would be my original idea, but there's so many discussions about T. Higgins potentially going and following them. T. Higgins and DeAndre Hopkins would be kind of redundant in my opinion. But I'm going to give them Olu, call it a day. They need offensive line. That offensive lineman issue in Tennessee is a real issue. Just watch any game. They were not able. There's a reason why Derrick Henry was as bad as he was. He wasn't bad this year. Let me clarify. There's a reason why he wasn't as effective as he was. And it was because that offensive line was egregious. Falcons. I think the Falcons, they got a defensive head coach. I think they would go with Dallas Turner. I just think it's a good fit for Dallas. Not like the Cowboys, but Dallas Turner. I think you bring in a defensive-minded head coach. Yeah, do they need a new quarterback? Ritter is not the move. Yeah, but I think they might make a move like Justin Fields, like anybody that has actually played some NFL snaps. And when you get to this point, the guys that you have available, either you need to give time or I don't think are going to be that great of NFL quarterbacks. But we'll dive into that in a minute because I'm most likely going to have a team reach here, and then I'm going to get my takes off about the quarterbacks that remain. The Bears. Right here, if I'm the Bears and I just drafted Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze is sitting there, I am sprinting to the podium. Sprinting, do not think twice about it. Yeah, you could probably trade down, but there's some teams down here that could draft Rome. You just paired up Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze with DJ Moore. That would be fun. Everyone's talking about, I saw one Bears fan, delusional or not, said, well, we could still trade back in and get Marvin Harrison Jr., and then we're having Caleb and Marv. I would be not just as happy, but without having to give up assets and get Rome Odunze and Caleb Williams, I would be very happy leaving this draft. I would be so stoked. Then once again, the Jets, I'm going to give them Fuanga. I think as time passes, they're going to like him more and more. You got to protect Aaron Rodgers. They're going all in this year. You're not going to go defensive line. They might go wide receiver, but then again, the guys that are available are better value in the later round. you got to protect Aaron Rodgers unless we end up dealing with the Achilles injury again, which I don't think they want to deal with. Objectively, I don't think they want to deal with that. So I think this is the perfect spot for him to go. I think he's going to be a riser, and it would not shock me. The Vikings are interesting. People are going to like this one. You have Kirk Cousins, who's injured, but Kirk is going to come back. You probably have one year with him. You have 11 picks as the Vikings. People like to reach on quarterbacks a lot. Bo Nix, that timeline doesn't add up, and Bo Nix is falling. Michael Penix, that timeline, that doesn't add up. Kevin O'Connell, you're an offensive guy. And the holes on this team, running back, you're not going to go this high. Yeah, you could go with an interior offensive lineman. I think defensive back, yeah. I think this is where Quinyon Mitchell could make a surprise move on the big board, and they could trade back in. But once again, we're not doing trades on this mock draft. We're not doing trades here. People may not like it. I'm going to go with J.J. McCarthy as a Viking. The reason being, J.J. McCarthy is a guy that needs to sit a year. Massive amount of talent. Sit behind a guy like Kirk Cousins, who I think Kirk would be understanding of the position that he's in at the age that he is at with the injury. You move off of Kirk in a year, you start J.J. McCarthy. I don't know if Jettas would love that, but J.J. has a live arm. Jettas and J.J. Is 11 really high? Yup. But teams reach on quarterbacks all the time, and I think the NFL is way higher on J.J. McCarthy than a lot of these fans are. And this is not just trying to bait people, but I think objectively it would be a good pick for the Vikings. At the time, I think people are going to hate it, but I think as time passes, if he ends up working out and Kevin O'Connell is the guy, it's going to be a good pick. I think it'll be a good pick. Now with the Broncos, this is another team that wants to trade in. I could see a world where they want to trade in. Obviously, they're moving also off of Russell Wilson. I'm thinking that this is a spot where they would look elsewhere. They need edge. Bo Nix and Michael Penix are not first-round picks, in my opinion. Penix is closer to a first-round pick, but I don't see a world where in that cold, at that altitude, that someone like Sean Payton's going to want Michael Penix. That's not to say Michael Penix can't work out, but that offensive line and that style that he likes to play, I don't know if it matches up with what Sean Payton would want. And that's why I think they would lean towards getting an edge rusher. I really don't know where the Broncos are going to want to go. I think this is a team that's just so set up to end up trading this pick. But then again, I see a world where they draft Quinyon Mitchell at number 12. There was rumblings that they might move off of Pat Surtain. If not, you just have a really good cornerback duo to handle things like Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert in that AFC West, leaving the Raiders at this point. I see a world where they go either defensive line or corner. Yeah, they need a quarterback. I don't think that team, but man, I could see it. I could see Michael Penix going there. I could see Michael Penix being a Raider. Luke Getsy, though, with how much they may go Bo Nix. I don't know. I'm going to just give them Kool-Aid McKinstry. I think that dude's a dog. I'm trying to culture fit for what the Raiders would want. So I'm going to give the Raiders what I think they would end up going with. Let's speed run some of these. Let's get through some of these. The Saints, they're going to lose a lot of pieces. I think Jer'Zhan Noon falling this far would be a crime. Go Jer'Zhan Noon. Colts, I think they're going to go with a wide receiver or a DB. I think they might move off of Kenny Moore. Them getting Cooper DeJean would be really awesome. Seahawks, I think they're doomed to get a quarterback. Right here would be a big deal if they got a guy like JJ McCarthy. With that being said, I think it just makes too much sense that they go with Michael Penix. I think Seattle's going quarterback. I think they're going to reach for a quarterback. This coming from a Seahawks fan. I think they're going to reach. And I think unless the medicals come out really bad for Michael Penix, Seattle's going to make a swing. It's either that or I think a guy like JJ McCarthy if he falls. And JJ would have been gone by now. Those, I think, are the two guys that they're highlighting as we want to go get them in this draft. They don't make the moves that they are making without wanting a quarterback. I can see Mac McDonald wanting to grab a defensive player, but then again, the organization made the moves at the head coach to go get a quarterback. Would I be mad? Yeah. No disrespect to Michael Penix. He's a gamer, but that offensive line, with how inconsistent it was, gave Geno Smith problems. I think we would be in the same position that we are in. And Michael Penix under pressure was one of the worst quarterbacks. And we don't have the offensive line built for a guy like him. Now, could we build an offensive line? Sure. But I don't think there's the cap room to do so. And then you're just praying for rookies to work out. And that's been the same thing that they tried to do for Russell Wilson. But I think they make a swing at quarterback. And at 16, with how this mock draft has gone, I think they would go Michael Penix. And I think I'm going to stop right there. Because I could go all the way down, but we would be sitting here all day. I don't want to be doing that. I don't want to just sit here doing the full-fledged mock draft. I told you I wasn't going to go all the way through. I don't got time for that. I'm not going to sit here and do that. I know the title is College Football Changes. Let's talk NCAA, man. I want to talk about this damn video game. I've talked about the big changes that college football needs to make. We're going to talk about NCAA. I'm not changing the title. You've been bamboozled, gaslit, led astray. I already talked about changes, about the schedule. This NCAA game is the most excited I've been about a video game in probably a decade. Am I wrong for having high expectations? No. You shouldn't feel wrong for having high expectations. You shouldn't feel wrong for being pissed that we have not gotten a trailer, and hate to break it to EA. You have 3 months before it's summertime. We don't have a full-fledged date. We've had rumblings. I don't know if a date's been fully confirmed. And if it has, we still have no trailer. Why are video games so unorganized in their media campaigns? And by every means, if the game is not ready, delay it again. That might be an unpopular opinion. I need this game to be good. There's the rumblings about how they're getting the audio from each stadium. Love that. Love the attention to detail. All for that. Make the gameplay good. That's one of the biggest things I think is getting lost in this is if the gameplay sucks, the game will suck. We can have all the features. We can have all the things that are going to be on the back of the cover that are supposed to hook you. But if I'm sitting here playing Madden like I am, and the momentum is clearly glitching the game so that it is making me lose as a casual consumer, I'm going to hate it. Like, sure, we laugh and look at the clips online about the Madden clips of just glitchy things happening. But just sitting down playing a game of Madden in a franchise mode is either somewhat fun, like about, I'm having a semi-good time, or this is just lame. I'm watching, all of a sudden I sim one drive because defense playing against computer is one of the most aggravating things on the planet. But I'm sitting there, all of a sudden the momentum is swung all the way to one side just because they got a touchdown. And I am not kidding when I saw a defensive lineman hurdle my center, sack my quarterback, injure him, fumble, and now it's 14-0, and I don't want to play this game. Call me bad, call me a bad player. I do not care. Everyone agrees that the gameplay sucks for Madden, and that is, I think, the unsung hero about NCAAs. If that gameplay sucks, we're just sitting in the same spot we're in for Madden. It'll be awesome when we are able to create a high school. It'll be awesome rebuilding the teams. But for me, the gameplay has got to not be a clone of Madden, because if we just clone it, skin it to collegiate teams, and then we have all the features, it's just going to be painfully mid. I think the reason why NCAA 14 has thrived for years is because the gameplay is still really fun. And like the dynasties are really fun. But when we go and play Madden, like all the abilities and the glitchy things that they've added to try to, I don't know, make it more video game-like, but also realism, which is always a struggle with like sports games, is in so many cases, sports games do not know whether or not they want to be realistic or a video game. Just best example is 2K. 2K Park, 2K Rec. The problem isn't the fact that you are splitting it. If you want Park to, and by the way, I do not play 2K anymore, but like if you want to play Park, it's a lot more glitchy. You have a lot more like crazy animations. It's not really basketball. And that's fine. It's still entertaining. And then you go to Rec, and that's like seen as like, okay, we're going to play pickup basketball. We're not going to run plays unless you're trying to make the 2K league, but like we're going to play a little bit more like 5v5 basketball. But the connecting thing is the gameplay mechanics are all the same, and the animations don't change. I think, yeah, there's some park animations like crossovers. That's fine. But the mechanics are still the same. And so the realism versus like video game-like techniques cause for an imbalance. And not to mention, I saw a video that Kofi made, and it encapsulates it perfectly. And that the same could be said for Madden, is there's not enough tweaks to balancing to any sports game. FIFA could be wrong. NHL, MLB, that I don't religiously play them or follow the developments of that, so people could tell me whether or not they continuously update that. But football and basketball are two video game sports that do not get enough just tweaks. There's just little things that could change that try to keep it balanced, versus we will go entire cycles of, okay, this is a passing Madden. That shouldn't be how it is. Like paying $60+ and if you play MUT, thousands of dollars for a pay-to-win game that is conforming to that meta. And I'm even talking about just playing online. I'm not even talking about franchise and how that gets neglected and the details of that. And that's a key thing, because they've already announced, they have already announced MUT in NCAA 25. Do not focus all in that. Do not leave the offline players behind. Do not leave dynasty players behind, because damn it, if people will make it very loud if you forget about them. You think the franchise people aren't that loud, which they should be louder about how they get neglected and screwed every single year. The dynasty people are going to be twice as loud about it. And they should be if you let them just to the wayside. The real issue to sports video games is just release 2K. Release Madden, release NCAA football. Notice how I didn't put a number, because you will just re-update the rosters. You'll add the new things, because sports video games are at a point where the graphics can't really get much better. The animations can't get that much better. We've kind of hit a ceiling. Can they improve? Of course. But we've kind of hit that point where we really should be focusing on balance and gameplay and features and those things. The problem that people say it's just a reskin and then all of a sudden a roster update is because we get these little updates and tweaks to features in the game that don't equate to like $80. But it's never going to happen. That's too good of a perfect world for them to just release the title Madden and then continuously update it. Too perfect of a world. Maybe I'm too naive to that fact. But that'll do it for today. I know we didn't hit an hour or 50 minutes. I knew coming back from the gym I would be exhausted, and I'm hitting that point. I got to eat, got to relax. But appreciate y'all watching. Let me know what your Super Bowl picks are. And we are out of here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Rush the Field, Tegan Randolph on all platforms. Leave a like and have a wonderful weekend, y'all. See ya.